All praises to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Let's go right into this video.
Second power, there's a 10-step plan. And we're at about step 9. So step 1, you have a free and fair election, but it's the last time. Because once that person wins, they don't intend to let anybody else or anyone else take the power that they have amassed for themselves or for their ticket. Second thing they do is that they exceed the realms of executive power. So you see a bunch of executive orders coming out claiming all kinds of powers that a president doesn't hold. Number 3, they then take the competing versions of power and try to either make them complicit or neuter them. So you have a Congress that basically has forgotten they got a job. And then you have a judiciary that's either complicit or neutered. And it's neutered because if the president, if the executive refuses to follow the rules, then you've neutralized the judiciary because the judiciary doesn't actually have enforcement power. Number 4, you go after the media. With the media, you make sure that you demonize and criticize the legitimate media so that nobody trusts it. And then you create an echo chamber so that the only truth that people hear is the truth you want them to hear, even if it's not truth. Even if you put truth in the name, it's not true. Then you start to gut government. You fire all of the people who know how to do stuff. You break democracy by making people think they don't need it. And the best way to do that is to make sure that the things that they've learned to rely on are no longer available. Because then you become the only way they get what they want. So you fire the CDC so that vaccine rates drop and the disease rises. You fire FEMA so that when there's a natural disaster, the only way you get what you need is by begging for it. So you gut the civil service so that no one can actually do the work that democracy is supposed to protect us for. At the same time, you hire a bunch of people that you call loyalists, and you put them in place so that they don't hire anybody who doesn't agree with you, but you also put them in positions of power. So then your next step is that you go after the people who do the good work. So you sue law firms, you sue philanthropies. Then step 7, you got to have someone to blame. They've blamed everybody. They've blamed women. They've blamed children. They've blamed people of color. They've blamed immigrants. They are doing all of that because they know at step 7, if you can push that forward, then we're fighting each other and fighting for survival instead of fighting for our country. And then you start to incentivize private violence. That's step 9. Maybe you send the National Guard and Marines and you militarize kidnapping people off of the streets, throwing them into detention camps, and then arresting people who dare to challenge you, calling any question obstruction of justice. Civic participation, the First Amendment, is the 9th category because if you can militarize your response, you also convince people it's not worth the possible pain of calling out the problems. And once you've gotten to step 9, step 10 is easy. You make sure no one ever votes again because now you've got them captive, now you've got them scared, now you've got them poor, and now you've got the power. That's autocracy in 10 steps.
Alright, so first things first. You know, this is starting to sound very familiar. If you've seen the video, obviously, as watching the video, everything is happening right now. The privatization of the military, the, what's it called? The executive orders and complicit Congress, complicit judiciary, right? And there is also something else that comes to mind which speaks about this, and it's called the Big Beautiful Bill. Right now, let's also see what the Big Beautiful Bill is about too. The so-called Big Beautiful Bill. And two, as Israelites, this isn't our country, for this home is not our rest. They call it the Big Beautiful Bill, but behind the name, one of the most dangerous power grabs in years. On June 29th, Senate Democrats forced the entire 900-plus page bill to be read aloud. Several hours later, it passed a 51 to 49 procedural vote. Why the stunt? Because buried inside are clauses designed to disempower the public and protect the powerful. This bill includes a 10-year ban on state AI laws, permanent tax cuts for the wealthy, stripped court enforcement powers, the largest Medicaid cuts ever proposed, all packed into one mega package, right? And one of the biggest ones here is a 10-year ban on state AI laws, and the biggest one yet, stripped court enforcement powers. So that means that Trump just keeps signing executive orders, right? The the Supreme Court or Congress isn't going to be really able to stop Trump from enforcing what he wants because they'll have less enforcement power. Right? Let's keep going. One clause blocks all 50 states from passing any new AI laws for an entire decade. No guardrails, no protections, no local control, just corporate acceleration. So all these people that think they're not going to lose their jobs, they will. That's why you have Amazon with their robots, right? Well, a whole lot of people are better replaced. And a lot of people very soon going to be out of a job because of these AI laws. Another clause removes the court's ability to enforce subpoenas, meaning federal officials could simply ignore legal orders. No accountability, no consequences, just more immunity at the top, right? So federal says that's what I said. Executive laws, basically having Trump be able to do whatever he wants. And there's going to be no justice, right? People have no trial, right? Because the court will not be able to enforce or any of the laws, or the court will not be able to be able to have their legal orders followed. This isn't a trickle down, this is siphon up. The bill also includes permanent tax cuts for high earners, estate tax relief for generational wealth, corporate loopholes preserved, SALT deduction caps lifted for the wealthy, deductions favoring restaurant chains over workers. They get billions, we get less access, fewer rights, and no voice. To fund this, the bill proposes a $1.5 trillion in Medicaid cuts, $300 billion plus billion from SNAP, so a $300 billion, I believe, cut to SNAP, plus rolling on clean energy credits, AI regulation blocked at the state level, courts defanged. But here's a twist: some of the harshest cuts just got struck down. Maybe a small win, right? So as says right here, the Senate parliamentarian ruled that many Medicaid cuts violated procedure. They can't be passed without 60 votes, so they're being rewritten fast. The worst parts might be coming back, just in different language. This bill rewards wealth hoarding, AI monopolies, military expansion, and punishes the poor, the sick, and states trying to govern themselves. Right. So if you realize there is this big thing that's going on right now called the Real ID, right? And basically, the Real ID isn't really enforced on a federal level yet. So the states can't force you to get a Real ID, or you may have some states fighting against people needing to get a Real ID, right? But if this bill passes, everyone will have to get a Real ID, right? And every regulation that on a federal level, the states are going to have to follow because they have no power if this passes, which of course it will. While blocking oversight, the bill also adds funding for suicide drones, military AI projects, surveillance infrastructure, less transparency, more power consolidation, and no public input. This isn't just fiscal policy, it's an ideological blueprint. The test run for stripping local control, weakening the courts, centralizing unregulated tech. It's not left versus right, it's power versus people. If a bill this extreme had to be read aloud just to be noticed, what else have they buried? And how far are they willing to go? Alright. And it says right here, stay alert, stay curious, don't look away, keep watching, because this isn't just one bill, it's a systems test. And I just want to say, let's get a scripture out real quick. Psalms chapter 146, verse 3, put not your trust in princes, nor in the Son of Man, in whom there is no help. Right. So you had a lot of MAGA voters, or some people call them MAGATs, right, who put their trust in Trump. And the reason a lot of these MAGATs, which were a lot of Edomites, put their trust in Trump, you also had some Jakes putting their trust in Trump too, but you had a lot of Edomites putting their trust in Trump because they wanted the MAGATs wanted the president for them to represent the whites, right? And you had some Jake. Of course, you had some people thinking Trump was going to do the right thing by the people, but clearly, Trump isn't. So when you put your trust in princes, you'll be betrayed every time. Don't put your trust in man, right? Put your trust in Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. So you can see all these MAGA voters, right? MAGA voters here, another MAGA voter, more MAGA voters, right? And a lot of them are racist. A lot of MAGA voters, more MAGA voters, right? Now, just because you're a MAGA voter doesn't mean you are racist. But if you see a trend here, right, they're like a cult. And now these MAGA voters are about to be screwed over too. Because Trump, at the end of the day, is a puppet. He's for the New World Order. Let's get 2nd Ezra chapters, Let's get 2nd Ezra chapter 15, verse 16. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Right. So, of course, with this AI bill going on, the big beautiful bill, and the court being defanged, what you're going to also have is people losing a lot of their jobs. And when people lose their jobs, guess what? They lose their money. And when they go hungry, people go mad, right? So there's going to be sedition among men. There's going to be people trying to protest, not just against this big, beautiful bill, which people are doing now, but protesting in violence once this big, beautiful bill passes, right? Because they'll be sick and tired of the federal orders coming up from the top. Because it would be unjust, not right, and draconian, right? So people will not respect their princes nor kings, which is your president, your governors, right? Because they realize they're all complicit, right? They are for the destruction of the people, not for the people. And it says in 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 71, they shall be like madmen, sparing none. But still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord, right? So Esau, right? And coming a time when a Sihip is introduced, Esau is going to be more draconian. He's going to be more forceful. It will be a complete police state, right? So this is why we need to truly be seeking Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai right now, especially more than ever. Because once this big beautiful bill passes, expect things to start speeding up and escalating like crazy, like wildfire. Because you're about to see a whole bunch of stuff. I don't want to say stuff, but you're about to see a whole bunch of crazy things start happening, man. Right? So, like I said, I hope this lesson is edifying to the hopeful elect and the elect. And I just want to say all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, and thank you to the elders, apostles, and brethren who helped teach me this truth. Shalom.